Welcome to Zero Tackle Hard Knocks, where each week, each team cops a hard knock or a burning question. We are fresh off round 12, so let's kick it off with, do the Broncos have enough forward depth? Heading into the State of Origin period, the Broncos are about to find themselves playing without Payne Haas and Patrick Carrigan. On Sunday, their middle third, even with the duo, was soft as wet newspaper as the Titans ran on plenty of points. Sure, Brisbane scored heavily too, but for a team who consider themselves a premiership hopeful, they needed to be better. The next 2 months could decide their final ladder position. The Raiders need a fit Big Red back. Given the Raiders have been playing without Jamal Fogarty in recent weeks, they have realistically done a better than expected job to win 2 in a row either side of a bye. The wheels well and truly came off during round 12 though, as the Roosters put 44 points on them. The Green Machine had a very soft underbelly, and it has become evident that they need Corey Horsburgh back fit and firing. He's barely played a game this season, but he was one of the club's best last year. Toby Sexton is the answer to Canterbury's halfback equation. For the first time since the middle of 2016, the Bulldogs have scored 40 or more points in a game. It was an unreal performance from the Bulldogs as they ran roughshod over the Dragons during the second half, with Toby Sexton controlling things in the halfback jumper. Fans have been calling for the switch in recent times, and now it's happened. It won't be going back the other way anytime soon. Was this the reality check Cronulla needed? One game doesn't make a season, but it sure can open eyes to problems at a club. Cronulla's easy draw to start the year seemed to fade into obscurity given their wins over the Storm and the Roosters, but that victory over the Roosters, despite conceding 30 points, could well have papered over some cracks. There will be no doing that this time after the Panthers ran in 42 points on them over the weekend. Cronulla are contenders if they can defend consistently, but not if they do what they did on Saturday. Can the Titans make the finals? Mathematically, yes. They probably need to win 9 of their last 13 regular season games to get there, but weirder things have certainly happened. The thing is, even with their injuries, the Titans do appear to have turned a corner, with their high-scoring win over the Broncos the latest result to indicate just that. Even if the finals are out of the question, the second half of the year will lay the platform for 2025. The Luke Brooks experiment has worked. The Manly Sea Eagles knocking over the Melbourne Storm without Tommy Turbo would have been somewhat unfathomable if you had said it was happening during the preseason. But that's exactly what we saw at Brookvale on Friday evening. A big part of it was down to the halves combination with Captain Daly Cherry Evans controlling things and Brooks playing off that. The former Tiger made 131 metres and was damaging with the ball in hand as he helped his side get onto the front foot. He has been excellent all year too, as he realises the potential he has always possessed. Did Jerome Hughes touch the ball too often on Friday? There's little doubt that Jerome Hughes is one of the best halfbacks in the NRL. He's played his role exceptionally over the years for the Storm, although almost always been joined by exceptional talents in the 1, 6 and 9 jerseys. At the moment though, Ryan Pappenhausen and Cameron Munster are both injured, leaving most of the pressure to fall on Hughes. He may have overplayed his hand against Manly though, taking 24 runs, 12 kicks and putting his hands on the ball far more than that. By the end, it became predictable. Melbourne must mix things up if they're going to win. Will a bye impact Newcastle's momentum? The Knights had a very, very slow start to the campaign. Adam O'Brien couldn't work out who he wanted in the halves, his side couldn't work out how to hang onto the ball, and things were looking dismal for a side who won 10 games straight to crack last year's final series. The 4 games leading into their bye, though, saw the Knights come good, winning all of them. They faced the Bulldogs, Storm, and Panthers over the next 3 weeks, though, and while O'Brien has suggested the bye came at a good time, that remains to be seen. Has Mitchell Barnett become the Warriors' most important forward? Mitch Barnett has been sensational for the Warriors this season and was again on Sunday as the club fought their way past the Dolphins. 183 metres from 20 carries is the headline stat, but it was the quality of those metres. He always threatened, drove through the line, and more often than not put his side on the front foot. He has been called into the New South Wales Origin squad and absolutely deserves a recognition. Back 5 performances will decide the Cowboys' finals chances. Yes, they were only playing the Tigers, but it became abundantly clear in the 42-28 victory that the Cowboys needed their back 5 to dominate their opposition if they're going to win games. All of Scott Drinkwater, Valentine Holmes, Viliami Vailea, Murray Taulagi and Kyle Felt made north of 140 metres in the game, and that paved the way for Tom Dearden to do his thing at 5'8". He put on a sensational display which led to the Cowboys to a heavy victory. Keep that form and they will challenge more teams than they won't. Will key returns actually help the Eels? The Eels have put on something of a disaster class in rugby league since Mitchell Moses was injured. Clint Gutherson joining him on the sideline certainly didn't help. According to interim coach Tim Barrett, the duo are both due back next weekend, and while there is no doubt that will help things along at the struggling blue and gold, there are clearly deeper issues at the club following Brad Arthur's sacking. Can they turn things around and salvage a season? Only time will tell. How do the Panthers navigate the origin period? The Panthers have been pretty successful during State of Origin before, but this could be their biggest challenge once injuries are thrown in. The list missing for Penrith this coming week against the Dragons almost hits double figures, and while their system is a very strong one for bringing reserve grade players into the top grade, this could be as much of a challenge as they have ever had, with 3 of their 4 spine players headlining the absences. Could Latrell Mitchell be a 5/8? A forced reshuffle during Saturday's second win of the season for South Sydney has provided plenty to think about for the club's interim coach Ben Hornby. After kicking things off at fullback, Jack Whiten's concussion meant Latrell Mitchell wound up at 5'8" and, surprisingly, played his best game of the year. Latrell in front of the line may be the way to go moving forward, particularly once Jai Gray is back to take the number 1 jumper. Once you consider South Sydney's struggles to find a halfback, which Cody Walker could fill, the move may become even more obvious. How do the Dragons stop the fade-outs? It's becoming a far too regular occurrence for the Dragons. Once something goes wrong, it goes really, really wrong. Shane Flanagan has the side light years ahead of where most thought they'd be, and yet games like Thursdays against the Bulldogs prove there is a hell of a long way to go. It's the 5th time this year the Dragons have conceded 30 or more points in just 10 games, and when most of those points come during a single half, there are clear issues. Will the Roosters make an origin period surge? In a surprising turn of events, New South Wales coach Michael Maguire has left James Tedesco out of his origin plans. That means Tedesco will be available for the Roosters over the coming weeks, with the Tricolours only losing Angus Crichton, Lindsay Collins and Joseph Suwali to the origin arena. Tedesco being available for his club against weakened opposition means the Roosters could make a serious play for the top of the table in the coming weeks. It's crunch time for the Dolphins. Yeah, they're in 4th place, going better than anyone expected in a strong position, but depth through the origin period and the ability to maintain the rage with an aging roster were always going to be a problem for the Dolphins this year. We are now 11 rounds into the season and signs of fatigue are there. Unconvincing wins against the Tigers, Manly and the Cowboys led into Sunday's loss to the Warriors. They will need to pick up their socks quick smart to stop this from becoming a downward slide. Where to now for Benji Marshall? This week's bye for the Tigers could not have come at a better time because while they may have looked to be turning a corner back in rounds 4 and 5, it has been 8 straight losses since. No one was expecting miracles from the Tigers this year, but the fact they have lost 6 of 8 games on this run by double digits simply isn't good enough. They haven't gone backwards, but it doesn't look like they've done much more than go sideways. Maybe Apisai Coruscant and Stefano Utoikamanu missing origin selection is the kick they needed. Those are our hard knocks and burning questions leading into round 13. Are we right? Are we wrong? Are we asking the right questions? Let us know what you think in the comments, hit the subscribe button and catch all the latest NRL news at zerotackle.com, the #1 independent NRL news source.